In this video, we're diving into how to set up CNAME, and TXT records on domain.com and what those records actually mean. What's going on, everyone? My name is Eric Hunziker, and on this channel, we cut through the fluff to help you build your first website and keep it running smoothly. So if your website isn't loading, your emails aren't going through, or someone just told you to update your DNS records, don't worry, we're about to make it all make sense. Let's jump in. The basics. What DNS really does. All right, before we get into the actual records, let's just get on the same page about what DNS even is. You've probably heard the term before, but if it still sounds technical or confusing, don't worry. It's simpler than it sounds. DNS stands for Domain Name System, and its job is to translate domain names like domain.com or google.com into IP addresses. Computers use IP addresses to talk to each other, but we humans, we're not great at remembering strings of number like 192.0.2.123. It's much easier to remember a name. So DNS is basically the middleman. When you type in a domain name into your web browser, whether that be Google Chrome, Safari, or Firefox, DNS steps in, looks up the matching IP address, and sends your browser where it needs to go. Every domain has something called DNS records, which are just little entries that tell the internet where things are supposed to go. Want to send your visitors to a website? That's a DNS record. Want to make sure your email works? That's another one. And today we're going to focus on three of the most common ones: A records, CNAMEs, and TXT records. A records, the one that gets your website online. All right, let's start with the A record. This one's pretty straightforward, and honestly, it's the one that you'll probably use first when setting up your domain. An A record, short for address record, is used to connect your domain name to a specific IP address. Let's say you've just signed up for web hosting, and your provider gives you an IP address like 192.0.2.123. That number is where your website lives. So what you need to do is tell your domain where to send people who type in your URL. Now inside your domain.com dashboard, you'd add an A record that says, hey, when someone types in mydomain.com, send them to 192.0.2.123. Now here's where people get tripped up. You usually put an @ symbol in the host or name field. That just means the root domain, like mydomain.com, without any www or other subdomains. You also might see something called TTL, which stands for time to live. It basically tells other servers how long they should remember your DNS info before checking back for an update. Now, most of the time, you can just leave this at the default setting unless someone specifically tells you otherwise. So when people type in your site's name, it actually goes somewhere. CNAME records, pointing to another name. Next up is the CNAME record. This one's kind of like a shortcut. CNAME stands for canonical name, which is just a fancy way of saying this is the real name. But here's the gist. A CNAME record lets you point one domain or subdomain to another domain. It doesn't go to an IP address directly like an A record does. Instead, it says, hey, go ask this other domain what to do. Now, a super common example is with the www version of your site. You might want both www.yourdomain.com and just yourdomain.com to take people to the same place. So what you can do is set an A record for yourdomain.com and then make a CNAME record for www that points to yourdomain.com as well. Now, whenever someone types in www.yourdomain.com, DNS will see that CNAME, follow it to yourdomain.com, and then use the A record there to find the actual IP address. That way you only have to update your A record once and both versions of your site keep working. CNAMEs are also helpful if you're using a third-party service like Shopify, Squarespace, or Teachable. These platforms will usually ask you to set up a CNAME pointing something like store.yourdomain.com to your-shop.myshopify.com. That lets you use your own domain name while still hosting your content on someone else's platform. Now, just a heads up, you can't use a CNAME on the root domain. So yourdomain.com can't have a CNAME. It needs an A record. CNAMEs are only for subdomains like www or blog or mail. One more thing, if the domain that you're pointing to ever changes its IP address, you don't have to update your DNS again. The CNAME will keep working as long as the target domain is still online and has the right records in place, which is pretty convenient. TXT records, tiny notes that make a big difference. Last, but definitely not least, let's talk about TXT records. These might seem like they don't do much, but they're actually actually some of the most important records when it comes to security and ownership. A TXT record lets you add plain text to your DNS. That might sound random, but it's used for all kinds of things behind the scenes. Now, the most common use is verifying that you own a domain. For example, if you're trying to connect your domain to Google Workspace, MailChimp, or Facebook, they'll usually ask you to add a TXT record with a long string of text that they provide. Once you add that record and they detect it, you're verified. It's also used for email security. You might have heard of SPF, DKIM, or DMARC. These are just different ways of telling the internet only these services are allowed to send email from my domain. Without these TXT records, it's easier for spammers to spoof your domain and send fake emails pretending to be you. So let's say you use Google to send email. Google might tell you to add a TXT record that looks like this. That's an SPF record, and it's basically saying, hey, only Google servers are allowed to send email using this domain. You can also have multiple TXT records if needed. Just make sure you don't go over the character limits. Most DNS providers, including domain.com, support up to 2048 characters per record. When you're editing or adding these, copy paste is your best friend. And double check for quotation marks or spacing issues, especially with long verification strings. It's really easy to miss a single character and mess things up. So DNS might feel like one of those set it and forget it things, and honestly it kind of is. But understanding how it works means you can fix things fast when something breaks. Whether it's your website not loading, your emails bouncing, or a platform asking you to verify ownership, DNS is usually where the answer lives. The A record is what gets your site online. The CNAME helps you handle multiple names or services. And the TXT record keeps everything verified and secure. Now, if you made it this far, you're already ahead of most website owners out there. So pat yourself on the back. And if you still have questions, leave a comment or reach out. We're happy to help. And if you want to get started with domain.com or any other products that we recommend, you'll find links for them down in the description below. These are affiliate links, which means we do earn a small commission when you use them at no extra cost to you. And these commissions really help support the channel and allow us to continue to create free content just like this. So if you end up using them, we thank you so much in advance. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Here on the channel, we make videos on how to create websites, explore different website builders, discuss domain names, and so much more. So be sure to subscribe. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.